G'day folks, Pakira here and welcome back to another episode of How To. In today's episode we are going to show you the basics of seeding or planting. So before we get stuck in, we've got to reverse here and just hook up our seeder, and then we'll have a look at it in the shop after. Just see, so just go close enough to it and you'll see that little Q will show up there, that little key. So again, pressing Q to hook it up. Okay, so while we're looking at the seeder here, just a reminder here of the UI, the lower part there next to the speedometer, just to the left, we've got, we can see it's already full and it's got wheat. So what we can do is for things like seeders, especially, or planters, you can actually toggle or cycle through and select what sort of seeds or what crop you want to plant. So by doing this, you press Y. Now pay attention to that icon that's next to that blue bar in the lower right hand screen there, and you'll see it's gone from wheat now to barley, and then to oats, and then canola, soybeans, that's sorghum, radish, and grass. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty good. You can as long as you got seeds in there, then you can change and select what sort of seeds you have, depending on if the seeder or planter can plant or seed the crops. I'm going to go into the shop now. I'm going to push P. We're going to go down here and just see what we own again, and we're going to look at the seeder itself in more detail. So it's the Northern seeder. It's a HK25 plus NS3030. It's a very basic one. You can see we've got no hours on it yet. It's 125 horsepower, so more than any tractor should really be capable of pulling that generally. 600 litre capacity, which we saw there. 1.6 tonne is the weight of the tractor, and you can see it's got a 3 metre width as well, and a maximum speed when we're hauling it can be 7 miles per hour. And we can see here it's seeder. Okay, so it can only take these crops, like again, wheat, barley, oats, canola, soybeans, sorghum, oilseed, and grass. Okay, now that's all this seeder can take. I'm going to have a quick look at some of the other ones and just give you a couple of things as well. So we're going to go up here to our tools, and we're going to jump into seeders. So let's have a look at the seeders, and again, this is the one we have. So in the shop is the very basic seeder again, and I usually go for, this one's not too bad as a starter. I usually go for this one and hook up those two. If you can, you've got a fair bit of money. You've got the bigger ones here, the Pottinger or the Coons. There's a lot more in terms of size as well. But what you'll see, if I just quickly flick through them and just pay attention down here, that these can generally only do those sort of crops, okay? And that's the limitation of these. They can only do a certain crop, and that is the crops. However, in the game there's a lot more to do. So seeders can only do these crops here that's been mentioned. What we need to do, for example, is then go into planters, and we can then see that we have some planters here that will do other crops as well. They will do corn, sunflowers, soybeans, so that's something the seeder can do, radish, and also cotton. Now, but generally they will all take that sort of crop and plant it. Okay, so that's the difference. These planters can only do corn, sunflowers, soybeans, radish, and also cotton. And some of them, if you look at the notice up here, some of them can also do, additionally, some seeders offer the possibility to direct seed or drill. Okay, so what that means, you don't actually have to plow again. You can just go from harvest back to planting almost, but I'll get into that in a bit more detail. But I just wanted to point out, if you're looking to plant corn or sunflowers, for example, you need to go into the planters. And of course, there is other technologies that you will need if you want to plant things, for example, beets up here, potatoes, or sugarcane. Again, separate crops, separate specialized equipment. Hopefully that makes some sense. But we are going to deal with what we have here, and like I said, she's all hooked up. We've got 600 litres in there, so capacity wise it's not a huge amount. But I'm hoping for this field, she'll be ready to rock and roll. So we're going to do the same things as we've done before and get into it. Now, these things you can see sticking out the back. If I press a Z, okay, that's going to bring that down. Press Z again, it comes up, okay, and Z that side, okay. What this is it's a good idea. I don't use it, but you can use it in certain fields. What it does, it gives you a guide on, and we've got the ridge marker down already for the side, so we'll just use that for now. I'm just going to reverse up a bit. What it does, it gives you a good guide. It kind of leaves a trail on the side of the field here when it's down. And it lets you just give you an idea when you're coming back where you want to put the end of the nose of your tractor. If you look at the nose there, you'll see that silver little pointer, I guess, for the word at the middle of the tractor, and that would be where you kind of target to travel along what this ridge marker will bring. But again, it's just there to let you know. So what we're going to do is get into the seeding anyway. We're going to press V to lower the seeder, and now we're going to press B again to turn it on. Okay, so now this is what happens with a lot of equipment, especially seeders and planters. You need to unfold it. So we're going to press X, I'm going to scroll down here, and you'll see all that did was push this little wheel down here. But it just unfolds it and makes it able to plant. So now we've done that, we can turn it on. Okay, now we can't plant this fruit in August because we're going to try and plant wheat. Oh no, what do? We press escape menu, okay? Normally a bit of pre-planning you wouldn't have that issue, but I purposely left that just so we could show you here. If we look at August, again, green is the planting, orange is the harvest season. We can see the only thing we can really plant in terms of crop, apart from the the grass and the radish, is canola. So we need to change that again. So remembering the key, Y. Okay, so what I'm going to do is turn the machine off, and then I'm pressing Y again. Take note down below, and you'll see it. Okay, to the canola icon. After a while, you'll get used to what the icons look like. Don't be afraid to pop into the escape menu or to have another look. So now we've got set, everything's ready. We've unfolded the seeder. I've got my ridge marker down again. I'm just putting it down to show you, and we've also selected the correct crop that we want to plant in August. I'm going to press B again, and we're ready to rock and roll. Let's go and try and stay straight, Parks. Now you'll see that ridge marker, what it's doing, it's leaving a little bit of a mark in the field. Okay, so that's going to basically tell us that we need to come back on that line with our tractor. Like again, I don't use it, but you can. Okay, so we've got that done. We're at the end of the field, so I'm just going to raise the crop, the seeder, sorry. Now I'm going to put my ridge marker up, and I'm going to put my other ridge marker down when I'm happy with where I'm at. And I'm going to jump in the tractor here. And I'm going to try and just get on there. Right, that's a good line. It looks like a pretty good line. I'm going to press Z again now to put the other side ridge marker down. I'm pretty happy with how we're looking. Going to just drive forward a bit. And I'm going to press V to lower my seeder. And I'm going to try to keep in line to the best I can. So I'm going to do it this way just so you can see it. I'm going to accelerate here. So ideally, by following this marker, you are in line with what you've already planted and where you're going to be able to get a planting side by side. Now obviously with the field, it's not so flat, it's a bit bumpy, so you might have to do a bit of adjustments, but that gives you an idea of how to use the ridge marker as well. Like I said, maybe I should start doing that a bit more. And again, we've used another marker. Okay, so we're going to just do a UE here. Now again, with things called the headlands, it's especially with planting, you can probably, especially a lot of fields, you might not necessarily have a lot of room at either end, so there'll be a road, or like in this case a fence, where turning around can be a bit of a pain. You might have to just jiggle it a bit. So what you can do is kind of leave a headland space, 1 or 2 rows, and I'll show you what we do at the end of this one. So I'm not going to put a ridge mark down on this, I'm just going to get stuck into it, and we're just going to drive again, coming along quite nicely, just trying to stay where we are on the mark. We did have that ridge marker there, so it's giving us a good idea of where we need to be. You can see where we started off compared to where we ended up, but that's okay. So leaving a headland, so you can either do what I've been told, or what is one, I guess, a way to do it is, when you're planting or seeding, you do the headlands last, and when you're harvesting, you take them off first, okay? Now some people out there will leave a gap and then just do certain rows for the headland, and I'm going to do that on this end. So I'm going to kind of leave the equivalent of, say, 2 rows, so probably about here I reckon, and we'll start planting. So we're going to lower her down here. I think that's a good width, probably just a little bit much, but that's fine. Press B, let's get us turned on, and let's get going again. Trying to stay as straight as I can without a GPS. Okay, so I'm coming down, coming along. Okay, this side there's not much room, so I'm just kind of, basically with my tractor is I'm going to lift the seeder now and leave that gap, okay? And then what I'm going to do is just 600 point turn. I'm going to kind of get back onto that road. Now with GPS, and there's all sorts of things out there you can do that help you with these headlands. Okay, so again, and then this is what I'm just going to do. Now at the end of the field I have a lot of room, so I'm not really going to worry about that end. Even though I've left that gap just to kind of demonstrate there, I am going to keep going straight ahead and completing the road to the very end on the field, because we have the space to do so with the other field there. Alright folks, so I'm going to come back. What I'll do is I'll love you and leave you. I'll come back ready to do probably the last headlands there, and then we'll touch base. Okay folks, we're back. As you can see there, the field is all done. I'm going to bring up the PDA now, the zoom in, and you'll see here under the filters of growth, or the filters, under growth filters, you can see field 46 is now green for the majority of it, which is, if you look here, this is the very first stage of growing. And you can see here that we've still got this blue strip that needs to be sorted, and we're going to get that done just now, which is that headland that kind of left. Now one thing I would recommend is just maybe, like I said before, taking 2 headlands, but for this I just did 1, because even with the 1 it's still a bit of a, when you're coming down the end, a bit of a turnaround. So I'm going to just drive up here again. I'm going to press a V, the seeder is still turned on, and we're just going to drive down the headland here. In areas where you've already planted or seeded, it's not going to reseed, so you don't have to worry. Now we did miss that spot there, so I'm just going to keep going and just polish that off there. Lovely jubbly. So V again to raise. We're going to turn her off now. It's got quite late, so we've stayed in the same game day, the first game day so far for these entire tutorials, which is great. We're going to try and maybe etch out a little bit more, because I want to do rolling, and I'll show you what. Okay, so now if we go to our soil composition, you'll see that field 46 is blue. It indicates here it needs rolling because it needs to be created a seed bed. So what that does, it compacts the dirt, gives the seeds like a nice little cozy place to germinate and get sorted. Okay, so we are going to do that. We're going to do that with the roller, and I'm going to do that right now. So I'll pop back to you when we're hooked up with the roller. See you shortly, folks. Okay, folks, we are back. Now, as I said, it's getting a bit dark. You can see the time there is like 10 to 7. Now, we need to be able to see a bit more. So we're going to put the headlights on. I have this mapped on my steering wheel, but the default key is F. So if you press F, there's your basic headlights. Again, then you'll get the rears, and then you'll get a few all around, okay? And again, turns everything off. 1, 2, 3, off. 1, 2, 3. So depending on what tractor you're using, they have the range of lights, the brightness, and the extra. So, but that's all. So we'll be able to help us see now. We've got the roller hooked up. Again, we're going to press a V here because she's already unfolded, and we're just going to do what we did removing the stones. But what we're doing here is creating a seed bed. Now, the texture itself won't really change from what we've done. It makes it very hard to see. But it's just a matter of just going up and down and knowing where you've been. It's not a problem because you can always just go back over. Now with that fence, we are going to have to turn early. And I'm going to start my turn now. And I'm just going to full turn. And I'm just going to go straight back. So you'll see where we kind of have been because of the loop there. It's a slight difference in colour now. But very, very, very slight. It's harder because we are under headlights. But again, we'll just go to the end. You can use your PDA to check where you've missed, and if you have missed any bits and pieces, then you just feel free to go back. And we'll go back with a headland anyway, just to be sure of it. To be sure. Okay. So I could move over a bit more. You might be able to see there's a slight texture change, but we're going to go down, around, come back again, and then we'll have a look. But what we're doing effectively here is, like I said, we are rolling, is creating a seed bed for our seeds now. So we're basically compacting the soil that is above the seeds because we've just planted the seeds into it like a trough, as they do. And now we're compacting them down, so it gives them a little bit more security, shall we say. It protects them from the birds as such, and just puts them down there into the ground, helps them germinate, with temperature and all that stuff, so. This is why it's important to not forget, even though I did in my Elm Creek save when I did. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to do a headland here, even though we probably won't need it. But I'm just going to be... might as well. Okay, I know we've done this pretty good, so I'm just going to... Now I'm going to lower her down now. And just make sure to get this side of the field here, because even though we did the turns, there's going to be possibly slight little gaps. Now I just want to get them all, and then we'll have a look at the PDA here. Cool. Right, so I'm going to raise that by V. I'm going to fold it up now, X, and while that does its job, let's jump into a PDA, and you'll see straight away we need that little bit of lime. We'll just remove the lime. It's gone. The blue that was there has now disappeared. So what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm going to leave you here. We will advance the next episode a day, so we will come to day 2, August, and hopefully we might see some growth come through this field. We still then need to fertilise the field and possibly seed the field. Now that will take a bit of advancement in days and weeks anyway to do, and I want to work on that field as well, going and moving ahead. And trying to do a whole lot of things. Hopefully that cleared up some bits and pieces. Just remember there that for certain crops you need a planter, not a seeder. We are using a seeder here, and it did the job for the fields that we do have. So that field is now ready. We just let the crops grow. We'll just keep an eye on if we see any weeds, then we'll get a weeder through it. We do need to put a fertilizer through, which we'll do tomorrow. You can use liquid or solid fertilizer. Now, as you advance, some seeders and planters actually do have the capability of fertilizing as well as seeding at the same time. But this is the basic one you may get. So we're going to cover the fertilizing anyway. Okay, folks, long episode today. I do realise that. Appreciate your time. Hopefully you've got any questions you may have had answered, or you may have feel a bit more confident or better in what you're doing. Feel free, as always, to ask any questions that you may have anyway, and I'll be happy to clarify them in the comments below. So, we've got some work to do. Next episode. Until then, I am Pakira as always. Take care of yourselves and each other. Kia kaha.